Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is the 3-Star Lounge. Today, what you're seeing on your screen is one of the best boss fights in God of War 3, Kratos vs. Hercules. And this fight is not just great because of the action that it displays on the screen, the gameplay that you get, the set pieces, all the things that make a God of War 3 boss fight amazing, which this one is. It checks all the boxes. It's amazing because of what it does narratively. It's a moment that it shows what God of War mastered at this point in the story. And that is hiding moments that are sad and messed up under the veil of glorious, gory, violent, bloody action game, hack and slash action. So, what am I talking about? When you look at what's going on here and take a tally of everything that's happening, who's involved, their stories, and just everything that brought everyone here to this moment, it's kind of fucked up, and is one of the stepping stones that goes to say that Kratos didn't do anything wrong by giving Zeus the business in God of War 3. But we're here to talk about Kratos vs. Hercules. Welcome to the lounge. Now, for us to understand why this whole situation is fundamentally fucked, we need to first take a look at the introductory cutscene of Hercules, because it does a lot to set up all the pieces we'll be going over in this situation, and it goes a long way to show why this whole thing is a dastardly plot by an angry goddess for her own means.
Bravo! Bravo! Our hero has arrived. Applause for another bastard child of Zeus. Just in time for the final act.
Hera.
You look terrible, dear. Still wanting to kill my husband, I suppose?
You know I seek revenge on Zeus.
Can't say that I blame you. Since you killed my son Ares, fear of you consumes him.
His fears will not matter. He is dead.
I'll drink to that.
Hera, I seek the child, Pandora.
Pandora? That wretched little thing my son Hephaestus created? Well, we can't have you do that, my dear. Destroy him.
Hello, brother.
This is not between us, Hercules.
Isn't it? You were always Zeus's favorite.
The air on Olympus affects your thinking, brother. Zeus has no favorites.
Think about it, brother. While I was stuck cleaning the Augean stables, he chose you to destroy Ares. I'm not convinced. How about this? While you were being crowned the god of war, I was sent to find an apple. They called them labors. Ha! Perhaps he did allow me to kill the Nemean lion, but he made your name known amongst the people. A fierce warrior, a killer made hero, a man made a god. But this time, brother, this time I will destroy you. Call it my 13th and final labor. Soon I will become the god of war and claim the throne for myself.
You aspire to be an Olympian, yet their reign is ending.
We'll see about that.
Now, there's a lot to unpack here in terms of the relationship between these three characters, and I think the place I want to start is with the key to all of this: Hera, Queen of Olympus, and the goddess of marriage and family. Alright, now as I said, Hera is the goddess of marriage and family as well as the queen of Olympus. This would make her wife to Zeus as well as the mother of Ares. And all of these things combined can lead to a very not good situation when you're looking at the case of Hera. Because if you know anything about Zeus, you know that Zeus is a cheating bastard, and honestly the worst kind. The man can absolutely not stop running around giving out the creamy Zeus whether they want it or not. Now, this leaves Hera in a situation where there are a lot of Zeus's children running around, but not necessarily their children. Hercules and Kratos are two of those children. And this information goes a long way to inform why Hera does what she does, as well as throw out some of the suspected reasons one may think for why she's doing this. Because her trying to stop Kratos and ensure his death has nothing to do with Zeus and the protection of Olympus as it is with the other gods that you come across. This has everything to do with the fact that this is an opportunity to not only get rid of one of Zeus's illegitimate children, not just two of Zeus's children, but two of Zeus's most powerful children, all in one move. Now, before we go any further with Hera and how she fits into all of this, I think it's best we move on to talk about the other big piece in this puzzle, and that is Hercules. Now, when it comes to the story of Hercules up to this moment, there is no Olympian more intertwined with that tale than that of Hera. And, funny enough, he and his brother Kratos have so much in common when it comes to the details of their stories. Whereas Kratos was deceived into murdering his wife and child by Ares, Hercules was fooled into doing the same by Ares' mother, Hera. Now, not only were both of these men tricked into committing familicide by the gods of Olympus, both of them were made to serve under someone else in order to atone for their sins. Hercules was made to serve under his cousin Eurystheus to do the 10 labors, which turned into 12, and Kratos served the gods for over 10 years with the promise that eventually his mind would be wiped of his memories of his wife and daughter. These things make Hercules and Kratos read more like two sides of the same coin, even down to their rage issues. There are more things that bring these two characters together in terms of how their stories move in parallel, but I think the important thing now is to talk about what makes them different. Because whereas Hercules still aspires to be an Olympian and walk amongst the gods and desires to fit in, Kratos has walked with the gods, and he does not desire to fit in because he knows of their backstabbing nature and he knows that he cannot trust them. And this is before he walked amongst them. He known this because he at no point asked to be a god. He simply wanted his mind wiped. Him becoming a god was a decision made by Athena, not him. After all, when it came to Kratos and his service to Olympus, the deal was that he would serve them for however long that it would take, and he would be rewarded by his memories being wiped. And after the events of Chains of Olympus, where he rescues Helios, he was supposed to be rewarded with his mind being wiped after that, and he was still denied that release. This is why at the end of God of War, when he has killed Ares and he's gotten his revenge, he was fully prepared to end his own life because his story was done. He'd forgotten his vengeance, but the memories of his wife and daughter still remained, and those are what haunted him the most. Those are what caused him to stop fighting in the first place, leading Ares to send the Furies after him, and that is the man we see before us today. Alright, now that we've seen the scene and discussed its players, we have to talk about how these characters interact with each other and how this scene goes a long way to inform everything that happens in this moment, everything that happened before this moment, and why, once again, I say, Zeus deserved everything he got at the end of this game. When we first see Hera and Kratos interact with each other, we get Hera condescendingly introducing Kratos, calling him a hero, and basically slow clapping it up for him as he arrives. In this conversation, they discuss their mutual distaste of Zeus for obvious reasons, but one thing that Hera would not allow is for Kratos to go and retrieve Pandora to open the box. And this isn't because she wants to protect Zeus. If anything, it's really more of a protection of self, because over the course of the conversation, she even agrees and drinks to the fact that Zeus's wishes will not matter once he is dead and gone. So the idea of Zeus being dead isn't something that she is averse to, but the idea of Pandora's box being opened and the power held within being unleashed, and it is said that that power is to be able to kill a god, is very, very threatening to her. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on Pandora's box, but I'm going to say that in terms of what's inside the box, while the power of hope did allow for gods to be killed, I believe that that power also allows the gods to not matter and be unneeded. And that's more to do with stuff that is beyond the scope of this video. Alright, so Hera ultimately sends out Hercules in an attempt to stop Kratos, and that leads to that brief conversation we saw earlier where Hercules is expressing his feeling that Zeus has shown favoritism to Kratos every step of the way. Now, as fans of the franchise, we would know that this is not necessarily the case, because at this point in the story, Zeus has tried multiple times to kill Kratos, even going as far to facilitate the death of Kratos' brother and mother as well, in order to protect himself from the prophecy that foretold his death at the hands of a marked mortal. But the fact that Hercules is even of the mindset that Kratos was shown favoritism by Zeus goes to show that he has been told something by either Hera or Zeus himself that leads him to believe that every good thing that has happened to Kratos, or every quote-unquote good thing that has happened to Kratos, has been in the name of Zeus. Even him being made a god was attributed to Zeus, even though that was a decision made by Athena. Now, I do believe the person that had been telling Hercules all this stuff was Hera, because what has also happened is that all of Hercules' labors have been attributed to the will of Zeus as well, even though this was largely the doing of Hera with a little bit of help from Hercules' cousin Eurystheus to make the impossible 10 labors turn into 12, and they were supposed to end Hercules anyway. He wasn't even supposed to accomplish it. That was supposed to be what killed him. And that is when he calls this the 13th labor becomes quite hilarious, because Hercules views the killing of Kratos as his 13th labor, and with the 12 labors goal being to destroy Hercules anyway, it leads me to believe that this whole fight was orchestrated by Hera to finally achieve her goal of getting rid of the two biggest thorns in her side, and that being the two of Zeus's demigod children closest to godhood, or in the case of Kratos, one that actually reached godhood. And over the course of this interaction, through the cutscene when Hercules takes over the moment, as well as moments in the fight where we cut back to Hera, she is absolutely enjoying the idea of these two brothers destroying each other. But I am of the mindset that she actually has an outcome in mind, because while the idea of Hercules winning is plausible, I don't think she actually sees that as something in the cards. I truly believe she's pumping up the head of Hercules and sending him into the lion's den as a form of execution, because Kratos to this point has not only killed mythical beasts and other demigods, he has dispatched several Olympians. He has beaten Helios at this point. He's beaten Hades at this point. He's beaten Poseidon at this point. So he's not only beaten an Olympian when you talk about Helios, and I believe you fight Hermes at this point as well. You've also dispatched two of the big three in terms of the gods of Olympus. So if you're putting these two in a 1v1 scenario, you don't really have any reason to believe that Hercules is walking away from this alive. This is why I say this was a dastardly plan from Hera, because this goes according to plan. Hercules dies, gets killed by Kratos, and she goes into her garden, and Kratos is not smart enough to find her, because that is what she's leaning on. She's leaning on the fact that this mortal demigod Spartan is not smart enough to find how to reach her within her garden. This ultimately ends up not being true, but prior to that going down, there is no reason from the perspective of Hera to think that this will not go swimmingly. And just for example, just to say that Hercules does win. Now you have a god of war that you completely control. Because if you look, Hercules is trying to get her approval. He is aching. He is yearning for the approval of Olympus. So much so that he ignores Kratos, possibly the deadliest thing on Olympus at the moment. He ignores Kratos in a moment where he has the upper hand in order to gloat to Hera about his forthcoming victory, which leads to him being disarmed and defeated by Kratos moments after. All this together is what make this fight going down so fucked up to begin with. What we have are two brothers who walked similar paths being forced to destroy each other by the same forces whom conspired against them to begin with. Now, I can only speak for myself, but the idea that these two characters that have gone through so much and walked past so closely tied together, being manipulated into fighting each other by forces whom conspired against them this long and were trying to get rid of them anyway, is kind of sad. But God of War 3's special skill is taking tragic moments like this one and hiding it under that veil of violence to create something epic. And now that I've gone ahead and expressed why I do feel like this is a tragic moment, I'm gonna do my part and join in by making a Hercules and Kratos fight edit. It's not very good, but here it is.
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hit. That's how winning is done.
The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the inequities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who in the name of charity and goodwill shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know I am the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon you. I've been saying that shit for years. And if you heard it, that meant your ass. The truth is, you're the weak. And I'm the tyranny of evil men.
Alright, that's all I got for you for today. If you made it this far, go ahead and hit that like button, let the algo know that you like that shit. And if you come back and like my next video, why don't you do me a solid and sub up as well? And there is a couple of more things I wanted to talk about in terms of this video. Like, I did have a theory on why Hercules is called Hercules and not Heracles, because the amount of detail and research that went into the making of this game, there is no way that they didn't know. I know that some authors and writers, they don't like to use Heracles' name when they're going to be changing aspects of his story, significant aspects, and that could be the case here, where the writers of God of War 3 didn't want to use the accurate name because of changes they were going to make. But also it could be a story reasons where Hera and Zeus demanded he change his name in order to be made a god, or something that Hera would want. Honestly, that's not really a Zeus kind of thing, but I don't really have any proof for that, so I didn't really want to put that in the video, but it is something to think about. If you enjoyed this video, there will be plenty like it, as well as storytelling videos focused on things like if the Order 1886 was an audiobook instead of a video game. So be on the lookout for that. If you are, for whatever reason, looking for more of what I'm doing, you can check out the 3 Star Lounge podcast, as well as the Potluck, where you get what you get. Me and my friends talk a lot of shit about a lot of shit. Lastly, if you enjoyed the music that is in this video or any of my other videos, you can find that in the Monday Medicine playlist. It's usually updated on Monday, but I mean, I'm gonna throw this song in there a little bit early because I've been neglecting that playlist. So this one will go up a little bit earlier than usual, but normally anything new in the music section, Monday Medicine section, will be found on Mondays. That'll do it. Bye now.